everybody. I'm Charmain Berry, and this is Charmain Berry on the Telly, and we're live streaming through NiaTv. The date today is Saturday, the 1st of August, and we've got a really wonderful lineup on the show again today. So thank you everybody here who's watching, whether you're watching live or later on. If you are watching live, then please do get in touch with us through our social media. If you have any questions, we're exploring a really wonderful topic today. So please do get in touch if you'd like to know anything else about this. I have two wonderful guests with me. Later on, I'm going to be talking to Hannah Cowsill. She's a very young, talented singer, songwriter, and just an amazing person. And she's going to be with us later on to talk about her journey with addiction and also share some of her fabulous music with us. I've got with me here live from Denmark, Mr. Douglas Crawford. And Douglas is a rebirther and A Course in Miracles teacher. And we're going to be talking about A Course in Miracles in a little minute. But I just wanted to share something about my experience with this really amazing book and teaching. This is A Course in Miracles, and I actually discovered this last year when I was invited to go to one of Douglas's workshops here in Manchester, and I've just been absolutely fascinated. It's a very, very big topic to funnel down into an interview. I really appreciate that. So hopefully today we're going to cover the most important things about it. When I see this on Wikipedia, it says A Course in Miracles is a curriculum for those seeking to achieve spiritual transformation. I mean, that's a really big claim and a really amazing thing. And yeah, what really fascinated me about it was the psychology, not only the kind of the teachings of Jesus, but also the psychology of the mind of the ego, which is very, very close to my heart. So Douglas, welcome, and thank you for joining me on the show.
Thank you, Charmain.
So you've been involved with A Course in Miracles for nearly 30 years, is that right?
About 31 years, yeah.
Okay, and also with the rebirthing, which we'll talk about as well. And you were telling me that you sort of discovered both of these things at around about the same time. How did that happen?
Well, I think I'll keep it quite brief because we don't have that much time, but very briefly, I had a spontaneous rebirth in a cinema.
Wow.
Yeah.
Of all places.
I had been fasting for a week and I was going through a very low period in my life. And there was a moment in this movie where the mother and the two twins in the movie called The Twins, when they rejoined, something happened and I felt like a needle was pulled out of my heart. And wow. I started to breathe very deeply and I started to sweat and I started to cry. And I did this for a whole hour. And prior to that, there was a girl on these yoga weekends that I was going to, kept saying to me, Douglas, you need to get rebirthed. Now, I didn't know about prompts in those days. You know, I was very unspiritual. But I realize now that I was being prompted to do this work. And I phoned her up and I said something like, I want to be a rebirther, or I want to find out more about this breathing technique. And she said, well, there was a training starting on Friday. And well, I signed up for this training. And so the training was actually about being a rebirther. Mm-hmm. What I didn't know was that the trainer, Benny Dansby, who was my trainer, she would teach with A Course in Miracles in her hand.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And part of the assignment on this training was to read A Course in Miracles, which I did as a good student. Mm-hmm. But I didn't really get it. And as you probably know, Charmain, it's quite a tough read. It's a lot of it is written in iambic pentameter, which is a Shakespearean style, which is quite difficult to read. And it wasn't until actually several years later that I was led to a book called Disappearance of the Universe.
Oh, I've read that.
And a lot of people have found that this is an opening, a door opening for A Course in Miracles. It gives a quick overview of it in a very light, much lighter and even quite humorous way. So I highly recommend anyone who is either new to A Course in Miracles or wants to get into it deeper, read this book.
Yeah, I certainly second that. I learned a lot through reading that, and I intend to read it again because there's an awful lot of information in there as well.
Yeah.
So let's talk a little bit about A Course in Miracles. A lot of people that I mention it to say, I've kind of seen that. Somebody got in touch earlier and said, yeah, they were in a bookstore and it kind of fell off the shelf on them in the bookstore. And it was around kind of in the periphery of my life for a long time, and picking it up and what is this, and putting it back down again. It is actually, I've got my copy here. It's a big book with little tiny writing in it as well. And as you say, it's quite a tough read. But yeah, how can you kind of summarize it, Douglas? What essentially is it?
Well, it's a mind training system
Mm-hmm.
towards achieving inner peace.
Brilliant. Well put.
It basically leads us to undo almost every belief we've ever had.
Mm-hmm.
It's a very radical teaching. It corrects the Bible. The Bible, although there are many truths in the Bible, there's a lot of contradiction in the Bible, and a lot of error in the Bible. And this comes as a correction. And it comes basically in three sections. The first section is what's called the text, which describes what we're doing to ourselves, quite literally, and how to undo what we've done. Mm-hmm. And one of the key principles is that we are doing this to ourselves. God is not doing it to ourselves. Our parents are not doing it to ourselves. We are doing this to ourselves. We, as the one Son of God, if you like, has created this thought system, mm-hmm. and called the ego thought system. Yeah. And it describes this very sophisticated, complicated ego thought system, and so that we can recognize it. You can't undo something if you don't really understand the intricacies of what's going on. Yeah. The first section is describing the ego and how to undo it. The second section is the practical part, which is called the workbook or the lessons. And there's 365 lessons, one a day for a year, which systematically unwinds the mind. At the end of which it says, this is the beginning. So basically, once we've learned what to do with our mind, we then spend the rest of our lives practicing it.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and that's what kind of hooked me into it, is the kind of the understanding, the depth of the understanding of the ego and the massive influence that has in all our lives, quite unconsciously. And it's kind of like it's so present we can't even see how it's impacting on. It's like we don't understand the kind of the core, like the source of our problems. Right. And if we don't know what that is, how can we possibly kind of get better from that, as it were? Yeah. So what can you say about the ego? I mean, we've all got a different impression. We've got the Freudian and the psychoanalytic kind of versions of that. We might have our own ideas of what we think the ego is. How would you describe that from A Course in Miracles perspective?
Well, the Course in Miracles has a very specific definition of the ego. And as you said, it's different to how we've understood it before. Mm-hmm. You could say it's a thought system. Yeah. It's a voice that we can listen to, like it's a collective voice. Like we've come to create this ego thought system ourselves, right? And there is a very specific reason why we've created it. Mm-hmm. And in order to, and we have the other voice, we have two voices that we can listen to, the mm-hmm. ego thought system and the thought system of spirit. You could say our wrong mind, our right mm-hmm. mind.
So what they might call it in Buddhism, like just sort of making that comparison, kind of being the observer and listening to like the kind of the monkey mind as it's described in Buddhism. We can see kind of threads of that in other kind of philosophies as well.
Indeed. You could say that most of us are listening to the ego all the time and not even aware that we're doing that. Uh-huh. And you could say that the main practice of A Course in Miracles is to get back to the mind that is watching, that is choosing it.
Yes. Okay.
So in a way, we stand above the battlefield in our mind and catch ourselves choosing separation in all its forms, which is what the ego thought system is.
Yeah.
And then choosing away from it.
And that takes some doing. I think, first of all, the recognition that this is what's happening, and then the actual how to do that, because we're very, very conditioned subconsciously sort of be relating to the ego in that way. And this is, where the A Course in Miracles helps us to, like you say, it's mind training. How do we train ourselves to choose differently, to choose the kind of the right mind?
Exactly.
Yeah. That's
See, we have chosen separation. We have chosen to come into a body to experience what separation feels like. Just because it's like a what if, what it would be like to go and be separate from source, from God. And so we chose to come in a body to have an experience. And we liked it so much that we came up with this ego thought system so that we never get back to heaven, never get back to oneness. It sounds insane, but we've chosen it.
It does do, doesn't it? And when we can understand like why we've done that perhaps, and what we're doing here. So really this place where we are, that we might call this realm or our lives, is really to explore the whole nature of separation. Exactly. So we have this kind of like polarized existence, a sort of polarization that, through the psychology work that I do, we understand that the mind is polarized. We've got these kind of, opposites within all the belief system. And that's what we're seeing kind of manifest in our lives. Yeah. And is it the ego that creates that? Is it the ego that creates our sort of so-called realities? How does the Course?
Well, we're doing this. We're doing all of this.
We're doing this.
We created all of this.
Okay.
As I said, we chose separation. We created the ego thought system to keep separation in place because we liked it. It's like, what if? It's very simple.
So I'm interested, because a lot of our experience, we might say, is also subconsciously being influenced by quite negative emotions like guilt and fear. And that, all of us are perhaps contending with that in some kind of way. How does that play a part in this? And what's the relevance of that in this experience?
Well, when we come into a body, we already have the ego thought system in our mind. This is why babies get upset so quickly. We think all our problems come from our parents. They don't. We come in with the full ego script available, and then we adapt it to our own specific experience. But what happened in the mind when we chose separation, choosing to separate from God, the mind came up with this plan of what can I come up with to keep this in place, because we liked it. And what it did was it deemed the separation a sin.
Okay.
It deemed separation a sin and felt guilty for doing it, and then was afraid that God would come and punish us.
Okay, yeah.
And this is called the unholy trinity of sin, guilt, and fear. And this is the first level of hiding.
Okay. This is where we get this kind of sense of sin, and that we're born sinners, and original sin, and those kinds of ideas that we might see in other kinds of religions.
Yeah.
Okay. But A Course in Miracles helps us to understand that that's not the case, that we're not sinners and we're not going to get punished by God. It's got a different way of understanding that, of knowing that.
And this is where the Course in Miracles is a correction to the Bible and possibly other religions, that sin is a construct of the mind. We made it up. It's not a reality, and we won't be punished. God is pure love extending itself, and gave the Son of God, or the extension of God, free will to do whatever it wanted. So if we wanted to choose separation, God gives us that freedom to do that. This is our dream, not God's dream.
Yeah. So this isn't essentially a world created by God and sort of with all the cruelty and all the, quite negative things that can happen here. This is of our doing. This is a reality that we've created, and God's kind of like letting us get on with it if that's what we want to do.
Exactly.
It's not because we're sinners and not because we did anything wrong. Exactly. And that's what I really like about that is kind of, and we're tapping into kind of the realms of non-duality and pure non-duality and those sorts of things, that when we kind of helicopter up, or we zoom out on our experience, that essentially when we take those foundational beliefs and invert those, that there isn't actually any right or wrong. There isn't that kind of polarized way of looking at things, and none of us are sort of sinners in that sense.
This whole good and bad scenario is a deliberate distraction to keep us looping in the ego thought system.
Yeah. And that's really prevalent right now. There's a lot of division, a lot of polarization going on. Like we're really seeing that manifest very strongly.
Yeah.
And looping in that as well, because we kind of, the ego is insisting that there is a right and there is a wrong, and that's what we kind of buy into. That's what we believe.
Yeah,
Yeah.
the right and wrong, the good and bad is all part of the ego script.
Okay. That's
Right?
kind of built into, yeah.
Yeah. But we have, as I said earlier, we have this other voice in our right mind, which is, you could say, the Holy Spirit or our higher self, or the memory that we brought into the dream with us. You can call it whatever you like, but it's available all the time. But most of us have been looping in the ego thought system, and then a teaching comes along like this that tells us what we're doing, and it says, no, there is another way.
Yeah.
There is another voice in your mind. And if you practice choosing away from the ego thought system, what is left is the other voice. You know, we don't have to learn how to love. We don't have to practice love. We have to say no to the ego. We have to negate the ego. And in that, we remember what love, and you start to have the feeling of love spontaneously, automatically. As you said, it takes quite a lot of practice.
And I understand, Douglas, that that's the miracle. That's the kind of the miracle element to this, and that's what that kind of means.
The miracle in the Course of Miracles is a shift in perception, basically from separation to oneness or connection.
Okay. And to begin with, because we're not kind of automatically doing that, it's something that we train ourselves to do.
Yeah.
So that we can begin to see the love in any situation rather than see the split and the duality and the right and wrong. And that's something that we train.
Yeah, as you train more and more, you start to see the call for love out there instead of the
yes. Okay. Yeah. So even when somebody's in fear or somebody's sort of being full of conflict or whatever, we can see that and reinterpret that as it's either love or it's a call for love, whatever the situation is.
Even Hitler was calling for love.
Okay. Yeah. So in the book, there are 365 lessons, one for every day. And I gather there's a lot of intelligence in here, and they're kind of like scripted to follow each other in the way that they do. And it's to help us to sort of really tune into this way of being. I've been trying to. It's really interesting that when we try and apply this and try and go through the lessons, how much the ego doesn't want us to do that, and can get you very sort of distracted in doing so. So is that the best way to go forward with the Course in Miracles? Is it really important to do these, and sort of what do people sort of, or what happened for you as you did this or went through this process? If that's how you did it, what do you begin to see sort of changing?
Well, you could say, as you start doing this work, you start to get more in touch with your feelings. Because because the ego is very clever, we hide most of our stuff in the unconscious, in the past.
Yeah.
And to unwind the mind, you have to get to the depths of what's really going on, and that takes time. And perhaps would this be a good time to mention the rebirthing and how this ties in?
Yeah, I think this is really relevant. Yeah.
Yeah, because and this is you could say a challenge for many Course in Miracles students, is it can become a very intellectual process because it's written with words. And Jesus' challenge is he has to speak with words because that's where we're operating, most of us at least.
Yeah.
And so the breath work, which breath is the key to feelings. So breath work helps to bring a lot of our unconscious feelings up to the surface, can be quite powerful at times. And once we've released the emotional charge, we can start to see what the real feelings are beneath it, and also the decisions that we've made. For example, you can feel frustrated about something, but underneath that, there could be hurt, there could be sadness, there could be anger hidden underneath that, but you never get to feel it until you start to peel away the layers of emotion.
Yeah.
Well, I
Yeah,
personally find breath work very useful to work together with it.
I see it as though it's the emotions that are kind of like it's the mechanism by which the ego kind of influences or manipulates us with these feelings that we keep re-experiencing, these very deep in the hidden emotions. So, and we don't want to access them because they don't feel very nice, but it's almost like, you know, that's the kind of the fuel in a sense, and it's really important to help that to release and sort of come out of that ego, where I see it is the ego system, is to
Yeah.
allow that to release so that we're free from that and able to feel more of the other things.
Well, actually, our feelings, our feeling system is actually our guidance system.
Hmm.
But we've learned to medicate it, we've learned to suppress it, we've learned to make it wrong.
Yeah.
And so eventually we get, for some of us, like myself earlier, become very numb, don't feel the feelings at all.
Hmm.
But
Yeah.
very simply, if you're feeling not happy, like you're feeling sad or angry, it means your thinking is in error.
Yeah.
So
Hmm.
our feelings are our guidance system to tell us when we're on track or when we're off track. When we're
Yeah.
feeling happy or peaceful, then we know our thinking is in line with spirit.
Hmm. Yeah, absolutely.
So it's also very important to get in touch with these feelings.
Yeah.
Mm.
So that we can understand where there's an error in the way that we are perceiving our
Yeah,
reality.
exactly.
Um, because yeah, a lot to do with the of course the miracles is the understanding that, you know, our problems are to do with perception and our misinterpretation of
Yeah.
things because of the way that we've been conditioned in our childhoods, it seems, although, you know, we're understanding that we're kind of born with this as well.
Well,
So, and the emotions are showing us where we need to focus
exactly.
to correct the kind of the thinking patterns, which took me back to thinking about cognitive behavioral therapy. I don't know if you know much about that. And it's a very sort of it's a treatment of choice in the NHS, but it's very much about changing errors in the way that we think, you know, if we change that. But it's taken outside of this massive understanding and wider context of why we actually have to do that in order to feel better. Okay. So I wanted to ask you about also prayer, and how does that kind of fit into the A Course in Miracles teachings?
Prayer is part of the mind training. As we practice prayer, we are training the mind. You could say the main thing in the Course in Miracles is what it calls true forgiveness.
Hmm.
Now, that's not forgiving something when someone has done something to you and then you forgive them. That's the old
Yeah.
way of forgiving. It's called forgiveness to destroy, actually, because it makes what they've done real and then you're large enough to overlook it.
Yeah.
What true forgiveness is about is overlooking completely and seeing the call for love. And we do that by watching our reactions to what we think is going on out there, not with what is going on out, but work with our reactions
Yeah.
and give them up. And this process of giving up and saying something like, please help me see this differently,
Hmm.
willing to see this differently, this is a part of the prayer. And we can be doing this as we on the fly as we go about our day. Oh, I notice I was judgmental there, or I notice I was defending myself there. Please help me see this differently. And this is why it's like any practice, like learning to play tennis. You need to practice until it becomes a habit, becomes automatic.
Hmm.
So you're
Hmm.
just going about your day. Oh, caught myself, caught myself, caught myself. Give it up. And this is the prayer, giving it up.
Okay, yeah, and the practice of that. So it's making me think of I don't know much about the traditional Bible at all, but this kind of sense of like turning the other cheek, like just letting things go, like understanding what's happening from the way that you're responding to it, and then allowing that to be healed, to let go of that.
Yeah, to let go of your reaction. Yeah.
Okay, great. All right, so we just picked, you just mentioned there the forgiveness word, which I'd love to come back and talk about in a few minutes, but we're just going to cut away now to Christina Batty, who has for us this week the Mayan calendar, report. So enjoy. We're back in a minute.
Okay.
Hello there and welcome to this Galactic Maya report for Saturday, the 1st of August. So today we are on a red galactic serpent day, and the serpent energy, as we were talking about within the serpent wave spell, is that kundalini energy. It's the rising of the serpent through the spine. Now, the serpent energy has often been depicted throughout time as being a symbol of healing, with Caduceus, the rod with the two serpents entwined, being a international symbol recognised for healing modalities. And the serpent energy is that kundalini. As the kundalini rises, the serpent, coiled serpent at the base of the spine, as that rises, it allows us to transmute and to evolve into a new way of being. So today we are bringing in more of that energy, and galactic is about harmonizing and integrity. So really feel like the galactic tones of each wave spell are integrating the prior wave spell. So the galactic sign is that harmonizing and really allowing some deep embedding from all that was done in the red serpent wave spell, in the last wave spell that we had before we entered into white mirror. So we're on the 8th day of white mirror, and as we were talking about last week, white mirror energy is that reflector. It's about the being able to see the endlessness of how we can be reflected and the growth that we can see, really looking into our shadow aspects to see and get clarity on what it is that we need to be working with and what is there, what is the juice there for us to be working for. So moving into this week, we are going to be in this mirror energy all the way up until Thursday. And then on Friday, we shift into blue monkey, and we'll be in the blue monkey wave spell then. Now, the blue monkey energy, is worthwhile noting that the blue monkey is the center point of the calendar. When we get to Friday, it's it's 131, which is exactly the midpoint between in the center of the calendar. So we're really going into the heart here, the heart of what matters, the heart of this process within this 9 months that began on the 30th of March. So we're bringing in that energy, and the monkey is playfulness and joy. It's the divine child, it's the innocence, and it's really bringing in and allowing us to connect with the inner child within. So big juicy times going on, continuing, and we'll be going on and ramping up, and once again perfect timing with the new wave spell and coming into this center point of the calendar, right smack bang in the middle of Sirius rising. And then we have the Lionsgate portal on Saturday, the 8th of the 8th, and this time is a really potent time astrologically every single year, from July 25th all the way through to August the 8th. Very, very strong energies. You may have been feeling it, you might have been experiencing it. But yeah, so just as I've said in many of my other videos, drinking loads of water, really flushing through and allowing ourselves to make the most of these transformational times that we are living in. And I will see you next Saturday when I'm joining you live. So we'll be able to have a bit more of a conversation around all of this and more then. I look forward to seeing you on Saturday. Have a beautiful week. Enjoy the rest of this white mirror energy and blue monkey. Spontaneity, joy, but dropping into the child within. See you then. Bye.
Welcome back, everybody, and big thank you to Christina. Christina is actually going to be our guest next week on the show, so we're going to find out a lot more about her work and the Mayan calendar, which I'm so looking forward to. And welcome back, Douglas. I'm here with hi, Douglas. I'm here with Douglas Crawford. We're talking about A Course in Miracles and also rebirthing, and how these two things kind of work together as well. And yeah, Douglas, just before we touched on the word forgiveness and just briefly mentioned that. And actually the journey of learning how to forgive is what I think ultimately brought me to A Course in Miracles, as it has a very sort of wide, massive, bigger perspective around what forgiveness is. And I think I think we can kind of misunderstand it as well. And you just touched on there that there's a kind of forgiveness to destroy, I think you described it as, and the Course in Miracles sees that differently. Can you say a little bit more about it?
Okay, forgiveness to destroy is what you could call the old way of forgiving, where you have done something to me and I'm going to be large enough to let you off.
Okay.
But in doing that, we've made what you've done real, and we're not really overlooking it. So Course in Miracles is teaching us the new form of which it calls true forgiveness. And true forgiveness is a process of looking and giving up, looking and being willing to see a different perception.
Mm-hmm.
One beautiful quote from the Course is, forgiveness is still and quietly does nothing. It merely looks, waits, and judges not. And that last bit really, it's what you call gentle looking.
Okay.
For example, if someone does something and I get triggered by it,
Mm-hmm.
now they can't make me feel, but it could remind me of an old pattern. So I get triggered, and immediately the ego will say, the cause of this uncomfortable feeling is what that person did or that person themselves. But this is not true. The truth is I am choosing to feel this because of my past experience or whatever, but it's still my choice, even though it's an unconscious choice. Mm-hmm. Usually it is unconscious because these patterns go way back. Mm-hmm. So this is a process of looking, catching myself in action. Oh, there I go, feeling jealous. There I go, feeling sad or hurt, mm-hmm. or angry. The first step is to catch it, because most of the time we're out there trying to stop the other person doing what they're doing so that we don't feel. Yeah. So we allow the feeling to be there and we look at it. Oh, there I go, feeling hurt. I'm willing to see this differently. So like you're giving it up to the right mind, metaphorically. It's like mm-hmm. this willingness of pointing away from the ego thought system to another perception, another experience. We don't know how to get to that other experience. So we give it up to our higher self or Holy Spirit, whatever term you're comfortable with using, and allow this shift, the miracle. When we forgive, the miracle occurs in our mind. Suddenly, this suddenly may take some time. You get a shift. And you may even have to do this a number of times because these patterns are very deep. But once you've done it enough, suddenly there will be a shift where you can maybe get a wave of peace descending upon you, or a feeling of love, or suddenly seeing the call for love. Instead of the person attacking you, you see them as needing something, as asking for something in some way. And so it still quietly does nothing. It merely looks, waits, and judges not. Yeah. If we judge, we're keeping it all in place. So it's a very, very gentle looking, giving it up to spirit. Mm-hmm. You could say that is prayer, that is forgiveness, that is really the whole essence of A Course in Miracles. Mm-hmm. But it takes a lot of training because the ego script is very complex, very sophisticated, and very sneaky.
Isn't it just? I think you said last week that it's foolproof, but it's not foolproof. Like you said, the ability to not judge, to see it the other way, is a lot easier said than done. Yes. Because of the way that we've been conditioned, the way that we've been raised. Like we're born into this kind of, in other approaches they might call it victim consciousness, and kind of like these automatic ways of reacting to each other, which causes conflict within us, within our communities. Ultimately, it's what underlies wars. And it's not until the leaders or whoever are able to do this and put the weapons down, metaphorically as it were, that we're going to achieve any kind of peace on earth. I read a beautiful description of forgiveness in something very different, the Gene Keys. I don't know whether you've heard of that, but is this sort of other sort of teaching manual about how forgiveness is the energy that is going to kind of like soothe the world. But, and I think it's coming back to the book you just mentioned, The Disappearance of the Universe. It's gonna help to kind of dissolve the form of this like sort of realm that we're in of conflict and evil, by helping this other energy to come through. But we've got to do it as individuals, one by one, and come out of the old patterns and old ways.
Yeah.
So how would you suggest that somebody gets on this path if they're hearing this, if it might be resonating somewhere deep within, sort of they might want to explore it a little bit more? What's a good starting point?
I would actually recommend reading Disappearance of the Universe as a really good opening, and also buy the Course in Miracles and start to read it.
Yeah.
It's advised, well, there are instructions within it, but to read the text as you start the lessons. You need to have some idea of the ego construct to make the lessons meaningful.
Yeah.
There are many Course in Miracles groups around the world. There may be one where you can go in person, locally to you. There are also ones online.
Yeah.
And actually, this is quite synchronous because I've just set up an online support group that's actually starting this coming Tuesday. I've just given you the link, by the way.
Okay, yeah.
If you want to share that with people. Starts at 7 o'clock English time this coming Tuesday, and you're very welcome to come along. It'd be actually good to come this first time because it'd be like an introductory one, and the first one is free, so free to see if it's something for you.
Yeah, that's great.
There are many other books about the Course in Miracles, but as I say, I would recommend Disappearance of the Universe as a starter.
That's great. Yeah, I just want to say that about A Course in Miracles, that it doesn't have like a money making machine kind of industry behind it. You know, this is something that you can really do for free. A lot of the information, like the books, are on audio for free on YouTube. You can buy the text if you want to have it in your hand there, but even that's only sort of 14 quid or something. A lot of the support groups that I've seen have been very, very, you know, well priced, and the workshops are usually around, you know, 20, 40 quid or something like that. So, and I think that's really encouraging, and it makes it very accessible to everybody who might want to get involved in it. So yeah, definitely check that out on Tuesday evening. As you say, there's lots of others as well. There's also the lessons that you can start to do daily. A lot of people have recorded these kind of separately and put those on YouTube as well. And I'm just trying to remember what the first one is, because even the first one, when I read that, it was quite mind-blowing, and it really does demand a shift in perception.
Nothing I see means anything.
Nothing I see means anything. I was like, what? How can we start to see the world like that? You know, and we know that the ego is a meaning-making machine. Like, it wants to make meaning out of everything.
Yeah.
And even on lesson one, being able to kind of slow that down and just look at it slightly differently. Nothing means anything. I think we're going to fall off a cliff edge. Yeah, but they sort of get progressively sort of change as we go through. Just want to say as well that, you know, this isn't the only pathway to enlightenment. It's called A Course in Miracles, not The Course in Miracles, and like there are other pathways as well, and other philosophies that, you know, we can find. But this just really seems to stand out.
Can I just say there, Charmain, it says early in the text that there are many versions of the universal curriculum.
Yes, okay.
And this is just one form. I mean, you could say in a nutshell, we have to undo what we've done. It's that simple, right?
Yeah.
And because there could be different interpretations of what we've done. But strictly speaking, that's what we have to do.
Yeah.
I'm doing this to myself, or we're doing this to ourselves, and we can undo it.
Yeah, taking real sort of responsibility with that and finding a pathway for it. We'll just say about the text as well and where it came from. And maybe this is what makes it so special. I know it was scribed by Helen Schumann.
Schuckman,
in America in the 1960s. But can you just say a little bit about that story and how that happened?
Yeah, I'd like to go back just a little bit before that, because what happened in the Vatican was there was a law up until that time that said you were not allowed to study or teach spirituality.
Really?
And people, I mean, witches got burnt at the stake if they were teaching spirituality.
Okay.
And because we have been, as a race, raising our consciousness, there came a time where the Vatican had to repeal this law. And that was in the 60s.
Wow. Okay.
And right after that came the Course in Miracles, and also rebirthing, and possibly many other modalities. But we were ready. And it comes from, I've had enough, there must be another way.
Mm-hmm.
And Helen Schuckman was a particular example of this. She was a psychologist, and they were, like many psychologists, they have a lot of issues still going on. That's probably why they're doing that work. And she and her partner, Bill Thetford, they had lots of arguments going. One day, one of them said, "We can't go on like this, like any relationship. We can't, there must be another way." And then very soon after that, Helen started to hear this voice in her mind. And it said, "This is a Course in Miracles. Please take notes." And she was very good at shorthand. So she was able to scribe this in shorthand. And it was, the voice claimed to be the voice of Jesus, the one that we know from 2,000 years ago. And it was a very authoritative voice. And it took her 7 years to describe it.
Wow. So
she had a lot of resistance to it.
Yeah. I mean, it's a really interesting story about Helen and Bill and how the sort of text came to be. Very, very interesting. So she kind of narrated this in a sense, directly from Christ consciousness or Jesus, whichever way you want to see that.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And it definitely didn't come from her. she had enormous resistance to much of the teaching and worked with it all her life.
Thank you. Well, that brings us to the end of the interview, Douglas. I'd like to sit here all day talking about this. It's so interesting. Thank you so much for sharing your wisdom here. As Douglas said, he's actually starting a study group. I've been in these groups. It's really nice just to sort of come together and sort of share these teachings and our experiences around it. So that's on Tuesday evening. We've got a link for that. Definitely suggesting Disappearance of the Universe book. And just find your own way, your own journey with it, if it's of interest. Thank you so much, Douglas. Enjoy the rest of your weekend and good luck with the support group, and I'll see you soon. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Bye-bye, everybody.
Okay, so we're now going to cut away to our cookery video today, which is going to be really exciting. It's all about how to make a cup of tea, and this is actually being contributed by our producer, Dee Dixon. Thank you so much, Dee. I'm so excited to see you on the screen. Enjoy, everybody.
Hiya, it's your producer, Dee. Yeah, Dee from the Charmain Berry Morning Telly Show. So, what I'm going to do for you today is I'm going to show you the breakfast that I am making for myself. That lets me produce the shows to the best of my ability. And yeah, thanks for joining. Right, what we're going to be having today is toast and tea. Right, first of all, what you want is you want your mug. And for me, that would be this mug, because it has the letter D on it. Now, it's not actually my mug, I'm not that obsessive about it. It's my partner's mug, but it does have the letter D on it. So the tea that we're going to go for today is Yorkshire's tea, because regardless of everything, it is the best of teas. And just filling up the water. There you go. That's probably enough. Don't need to do too much, because don't want to waste all the time. And there we go. Oh, is that plugged in? Is that going? It is. Alright, typically there would be a light that would tell you that the kettle's on. The light's not there anymore. So, but it's okay, we can hear it, So let's go and look for our toast that we're going to have today. Now, there's no toast. So that's no good. That's fine though. We'll not have any toast, we'll just have a tea. Just need to wait. Alright, okay, so the my phone went on low battery, so it actually cut out the video. But what we've got now is a boiled kettle. See, there's me, you could see it. That's the proof that it is boiled. And all we need to do is pour. Look at that. Right, you can do it as much as you want. That's that. Now what we've got for our sugar, we've got some tomorrow sugar. Tomorrow sugar? Demerara? No. Demerara. There we go, Demerara. That's what we're using anyway. So to be able to hold sugar properly, you need to actually get a spoon. So I'll go get us a spoon. Here's our spoon. Spoon. Oh, this is nutmeg. Say hello. Nutmeg's in heat. And lovely gorge. Little Baba. Okay, so I have 2 sugars. Now I know. Oh wait, there was already a spoon in there. Never mind. You know, don't mix the spoons. For me, I use 2 spoonfuls of sugar for my tea, and that's a personal choice. You do not have to do the same, but you know, the tea is very different. So I know some people like to leave them to brew for a bit, but for me, personally, I like to have mine. I'm really, really impatient, so I do mine. Look, it's me holding the milk cap. I think I've got the super zoom camera in, because you know, I don't think I'm that close to the milk. But you see the pour, look at that pour. If I'm in the super zoom, let's look at the pour. Look at the pour. There we go. Perfect. Alright, okay. So, you put the milk back, because otherwise it will spoil. And that's no good. And then finally, all you need to do is give it a good stir. I like mine milky, don't judge me. There's a tea bag. I need someone to put the tea bag on. I realise I've got a phone in my hand. There's that spoon. Some people give a squeeze. I don't do it particularly, or at least don't do it on the screen. Too controversial. I'll pop the camera here. So it's easy to put it away. There we go. You take that and pop it into the bin. That's it. So, there's a nutmeg, there's a tea, there's a spoon, or you pop this one into the sink. And that is it, I guess. Yeah. Thank you very much for coming on the journey with me. It's been an experience. If you'd like to learn more about how to make a tea, you can reach out, I guess. But it's tea. It's not that hard. Oh well. Oh well, anyways, thanks for watching. Thanks for the opportunity for me to show my talents. And over back to you, Charmain.
And welcome back, and thank you so much, Dee, for showing us how to make a cup of tea. It's really wonderful. And welcome back, everybody. And thank you to Douglas, who's now left us. That was a really wonderful interview. And I'm joined now by my second guest. This is Hannah Cowsill. She's actually a good friend of mine. I've known her for quite a few years now. And I've been so impressed at watching Hannah as she's grown and do all the different things that she's been doing over this time. I've watched her play many times live. She's a fabulous musician, brilliant songwriter as well, and has done lots and lots. She's got many, many, many strings to her bow and is usually the busiest person on the planet. So welcome, Hannah. It's so good to have you here.
It's so nice to be here. Thank you. Thanks for having me.
So let's talk a little bit about the kind of things that you do, Hannah. And I'm interested in like kind of what really inspires you and what you find interesting. I've seen that you've been on you've been on a very powerful spiritual path as well. And yeah, and your music and how you kind of weave your music into that journey, into your growth also. Just tell me a little bit about, do you want to start with your music? Let's just talk about that a little bit and how you discovered singing and songwriting and what that's been like for you.
Yeah, so music, I've always wanted to do music since being younger. I wanted to do it in school, but we were only allowed to pick music or dance, so I never pursued it. I just did dance, which later on I realized through working in ceremonial settings, which we'll get to at some point, I realized how not being allowed to do music at that young age through school caused me a number of problems or diversions, let's say. Brought up, many things for me. I was in Australia in 2012 when I was really, really quite sick, actually, and I'd grown up in church and had a relationship with God when I was younger, and then completely rejected it when I was growing up. And then I got so desperately ill in Australia. I was like, please, if you really do exist, I need some help right now. And within about 24 hours, I walked into the middle of a 50-man djembe circle. So for those that don't know what djembe is, it's the big African drum. And just hearing one can put you on the floor, but to walk into a circle of that many people that were all praying, and I didn't realize also, it just put me on the floor. I was having like some kind of intense, I don't know, what seizure, what would you call it? Just like some force hit me, and I remembered like the power of music, and I really need to have this in my life. And I got a guitar, and I learned 4 chords, the basic 4 chords that you can basically sing any song on the planet on. E minor, C, G, D. And I learned three songs, all with the same chords but in different progressions, and I did that for about 3 months. And I was like, when I needed to get go a bit deeper in my learning journey, I would just pushed it away. And then about a year and a half after that, I was going through my healing journey again. I'd come back. I'd been in Australia for a year, and I found my tribe there. This drum circle that I was telling you about. Turns out they actually called themselves Tribe, and they gathered every Sunday in Byron Bay at 4 o'clock, and they were basically like spiritual Christians. And what got me so much was the music, just feeling of oneness, and just everything, all of my pains and worries, everything would just disappear singing these worship songs.
Yeah.
So I came home and was chasing around trying to get well. I kept bouncing from place to place, going, I'm going to get better when I get to here. I'm going to get better when I get to there. taking my head everywhere with me and not getting better, forgetting that I needed to go inwards, and it was not there was nothing external that was going to fix my problems. Wow. And was chasing around loads of different churches over the 18 months of being home, trying to find this group of people that I could fit in with, and I couldn't find it. So then tried to get back to Australia, got deported, and within a week I was asked to go on a meditation and yoga retreat. And I bumped into Gavin Kendrick. Have you interviewed him on here yet?
No, not yet. I'm sure we will do.
Okay. Come in. Absolute incredible brother. I just met him in a juice bar called Love Juice in Manchester, and became best friends with him an hour or something, poured out the whole life story on him. He was like, oh, I'm going on a meditation retreat this weekend and there's a space paid for. Do you want to come? I was like, funny enough, I do, yeah.
It's amazing how these things happen.
Just, yeah, incredible. And there was a lady there called Isla Schaefer, another one you'll probably interview, I guess, at some point. And
she's already been on. Yeah.
Oh, she's already been on. Okay. Oh, I need to watch her interview. She was singing a song that just, again, I just got that same experience that I got in the church in Australia, where my heart was just cracking. I would just be crying, just in such a state from the music. And then I looked at her hands, and bear in mind, I hadn't played the guitar for about a year and a half. I just learned those 4 chords in Australia and put it down. I was like, this is too hard. And then I looked at her hands, and she was playing the same 4 chords that I knew. But she was singing in Spanish, I think, or something like that. And then that was it. That was the start of my musical journey. Kind of started in 2012, but really it started then in about 2014, 2015. Wow. And then ever since, I just got really, can I say obsessed with collecting music from different traditions and cultures, and receiving healing from these ancient prayers through the power of sound. It's just been, it's been amazing. That's been my musical journey up to now. And now I sing on meditation and yoga retreats. It was every week or every other week until recently. And I guess that's going to start back up again at some point soon.
Wow, it sounds like, a really powerful pathway that you've found, just kind of, following that trailhead and those feelings and that sense of healing, and kind of, in those sort of circles, in that tribe. And I think it's also opened up other doors for you as well. Like, you've trained in, did you do your yoga training since then? And I know you've done some herbal
medicine,
train. Just, can you tell us a little bit about that, and just kind of like how, that seems to have grown from what you've discovered?
Yeah. So yoga, music is a massive part of my yoga practice also, with singing the Sanskrit mantras and singing for certain yoga practices. I, with Gavin, started doing a herbal medicine training a few years back, and we both got to the final bit of the 3rd year and was like, I'm just going to put this on hold for a little while, because we both worked on the retreats, and that took up virtually every weekend. We didn't really have the space to complete it, but it was really exciting. Sorry.
What's that like, sort of having that understanding of how plants help us from a medicinal point of view, and the herbs, and kind of understanding what we've got growing out there naturally? I mean, what was that like, discovering all of that?
So exciting. So exciting. I felt like 10 veils just got lifted off me when I realized how much medicine is just under our feet when we're walking on the field. plantains and the dandelion and the birch and the oaks, all these different things that we can make tinctures from, and when to do it around a moon cycle, and to realize that really don't have to rely on going to the doctor straight away for something. First of all, to just have a look about what is growing right now in this season in England, this part of England, and can I go and forage it, and can I go and make this medicine myself? And yeah,
it's really exciting, isn't it? Just to think that I didn't know that you can actually tap sap from a birch tree. Like what?
No, yeah. Actually, good.
There's so many different medicinal properties to dandelion, and also the intelligence there about how plants just kind of you find certain plants growing between the cracks outside your house as a kind of an indication of what you need. Like the plant's kind of sensing that you've got this going on or that, and it kind of, I mean, it's quite mind blowing, really, isn't it, to understand that world and everything that's happening. That's great. You spent 3 years looking at that.
Yeah. And learning to ask to have that connection with the plant, to not just take that we so often in the West do. We just take without thinking or without even asking, quite forcefully. So to just slow everything down. I'm just going to close that window because it's a bit noisy with the cars.
Yeah, sure.
Yes, to just
be respectful and be in a kind of a good relationship with it is important. That's great. So Hannah, I forgot, we've actually got a little YouTube clip of you singing. Can you tell me what it is? What is this? I wrote it down somewhere, but what's this little
Kol Gal Gal? Kol Gal Gal. It's a Hebrew song.
Hebrew song. Okay.
I have to. Do you want to hear the translation of it, or do you want to just hear
tell us a little bit about what does the line in it mean?
I have so many songs that I don't store them all in my head, so I have to just double check on it. From the shofars.
And Hannah's going to be singing live for us in a little while as well, a new song that she's brought through.
Yeah, the new song. Should I explain that now while I'm looking for the Kol Gal Gal?
Yeah.
Here it is.
Yeah.
I found it here.
All right, great.
It's a Hebrew song that dates back to the 13th century.
Wow.
And it's from the seminal Kabbalic text, which was originally written in Aramaic. Yeah, it's a really famous, well-known song. There's a lady called Tina Malia that you can watch her sing it and talk about it on YouTube.
Okay, that's brilliant. All right, so I'm going to ask Dee, see if we're ready for that, and if we can just see a little bit of this video, that would be wonderful. Beautiful, beautiful, and welcome back, everybody. That was so nice. Hi, Hannah. Welcome back. This is Hannah Cowsill, everybody. So we're going to talk a little bit more, Hannah, before you sing for us. And you just mentioned before that you were in Australia 2012, so you would have been 22, round about that age, 21.
Yeah.
And that you were unwell, and you were having some problems there. And you very generously said that you're okay to share some of that. Yeah, what was happening for you, Hannah, and how did you get through it?
Yeah. So there was a few things going on. When I was in the UK before that, I had a problem with food. I started with an eating disorder at age 14.
Okay.
But I didn't really see it as an eating disorder until I was about 17.
Okay.
And it just kept getting progressively worse, and I became dependent on alcohol and drugs, and I got to a point where I was pretty desperate. I was living off baby food to make sure that I could stay super skinny, and taking dabs of MDMA before going to college, and snorting cocaine at college to suppress my appetite.
Wow.
And then because I'd been able to suppress my appetite for so long with drugs and alcohol, I would drink like 2 glasses of red wine for dinner.
Okay.
I went to Australia to get away from the drugs, which was like probably a priority at that point, and which I was able to do. I was able to get away from the drugs, but then my appetite came back with a vengeance, and I could not control it.
Okay.
So I've been bulimic since being 17, but I didn't see it as a problem because I would only do it on weekends.
Mm-hmm.
I would get extra drunk and extra messed up, that I would just make myself sick, and then at the very end of the night I would eat some food and then make myself sick, and I thought it was just fine, just never saw it as a problem.
Mm-hmm.
Until when I was in Australia, and it happened once, and it was really difficult because I used to do it when I was intoxicated, so it was super easy, and then to start doing it sober was another level. then I kind of got the knack for it. I got used to how to do it, and at what point after eating I could do it, and if I touched this certain part of my throat, then I could finish everything really quickly, and I got super addicted to it.
Okay.
And to a point, actually, I couldn't afford to be bulimic, and I used to steal, and I used to walk around Woolies at the time, or a bit like our Tesco's. I would binge eat $50 worth of food, come out, be sick, drive up to the next shop and do the same.
Wow. Yeah.
And I was just, I was depressed. I was malnourished because I wouldn't keep anything down, and even the bits that I was binging on, nothing was actually healthy. I was still having a bit of a problem with drink, but nowhere near as much, and smoking some weed. But I was just it's like I kept swapping my addictions one for another.
Yeah.
If I put down the drink and put down the drugs, and I made myself sick. If I could stop making myself sick, then I needed to take drugs, and it was just I wasn't able to just really go in and see what was the problem and why am I constantly needing to fill this void. And that's what was so incredible. When I asked God for help, I was like, please, I am on my knees. I couldn't even drink a cup of tea, because if I drank a lukewarm cup of tea, my throat was so burnt. It was like drinking razor blades. All my teeth at the back were cracking and coming out. I've got no teeth at the back here, and these are all filled in. I was just desperate, and then I discovered veganism. I was trying to find all these different ways of healing. I found yoga. That was amazing, but it was quite difficult because I was not eating properly. I would get really faint during class, or just not be able to complete from beginning to end. And because I was I guess so obsessed with looking good enough to fit in my head, to not be able to complete a yoga class was not good for my ego, and I would just beat myself up even more. And then I found the music and the church. I'm not religious, I'm not a Christian, and I like bits from the different religions, and I just take what I like and what resonates mostly.
There is something about, for you, that kind of helping with the void, it kind of filling the void or connecting with that in some way. So that wasn't this kind of constant need to try and do that with these, what we call addictions. Wow, that's incredible. That's incredible. I'm sure a lot of people can relate to that, and at least some aspects of that, that story and difficulty, and it still is difficult for a lot of people. But just even asking, even if we can't afford therapy or get ourselves referred into somewhere, just to start asking whatever it might be for some sort of guidance or help or something might just point us in the right direction.
Yeah.
I think having the willingness to want to change. That's what sounds like happened with you. Same with Douglas, perhaps, in his story about what happened to him in the cinema. Just this like, oomph, this kind of like awakening or something happening.
I'm gonna have to watch that back because I've missed it this morning.
Well, to be honest, like a lot of the guests that we've had on the show have had a similar story, and we're really seeing these themes across everybody. You know, this kind of hardship and difficulty, and then sense of like realization and just asking and looking for another kind of pathway. You know, which is what's happened. Incredible. That's lovely.
Russell Brand calls it with him the gift of desperation.
Does he?
He's like, yes, I have the gift of desperation. I was like, oh yeah.
Kind of is a gift, because like where else can we go when we've got to that point? Like we've got to find another way. We've got to figure out what that is. That's I didn't know he'd done that. It's really interesting. So you're going to sing for us in a little minute, but let's just talk about like where you're at now. I know you're doing a new job at the minute, which my heart absolutely goes out to you for doing this. It sounds like really incredible work that you've just started to do. Do you want to share a little bit about that or not? We can.
Yeah, I can do.
I mean, yeah.
So, as I mentioned before, my work is full time on retreats. I'm usually on a retreat every weekend or every other weekend, and that's.
You've been traveling around the world the last few years doing that. Super busy.
Yeah. I'm so grateful, but also so grateful for this pause. It feels really good to be at home and be with my family.
Lockdown pause. Yeah.
Sleep in my own bed for 3 whole months. It's been incredible. So I decided to get a job, and I didn't want to go and work in Tesco's. So I thought the next available job that would actually be rewarding is to work as a carer. So I went and got a job as a carer for mainly elderly, but also for young people with things like cerebral palsy and other I was going to say, does that come as a disease?
Cerebral palsy, different sorts of conditions, just like kind of.
Conditions is the word I was looking for. So it's been an extremely humbling job.
Wow.
I mean, the work I do anyway, because I get to sit in many sharing circles and hear what's happened to people in their lives, and constantly I'm being humbled to see what so many people have to go through, and the problems that are so common, like abuse that's being brought to light right now. Their children. But with this job in particular, just to go to that, was I'm working with people with dementia. One guy in particular that, gosh, my heart goes out to the family so much. It's so interesting. I actually worked with this guy just before moving to Australia. I used to work in a club called Prohibition in Manchester, which was really great for my drug days because we used to just take drugs at work all the time. And now I am helping him look after his dad, who has just gone back to being like a baby, like a 2 or 3 year old, just speaks like we have to just talk gobbledygook, you know, but it's really healing, and I'm learning a lot just from going back to a child with an old person, and just seeing the circle of life. And this song that I'm going to be singing is to do with that. And I just found out, so I'm saying like, oh yeah, it's really beautiful because we get to speak to him like a child, but I also have to dodge punches when changing nappies and get called a effing C word and all of this kind of stuff, because it can just change like this and keeping me on my toes like I need to be in this world right now, like we all need to be in this world right now, aware and soften and ready. My pardon.
That's well put. It's a good description.
And I just found out that my nan has got really severe dementia. So I feel like I've just been gently prepped for what is to come with my nan. Like, this is what happens in the late stages of dementia. And he's had it for 6 years. And I've just found out that my nan's had it since 2012. But there's been so much shame and embarrassment in the family that us kids have not been told until now, until it's got to a point where the police are bringing her back from the other end of the country because she's just gone on a train to nip to her other house to get changed because her clothes are wet.
Yeah. Oh, bless.
Yeah. And it's interesting to see this again, like people not being able to be honest of where we're at because of shame or fear of what someone else thinks, when actually me and my brothers would have been helping for the last 8 years if we would have known, and we could have lightened the load, and instead my mum's just dealt with it on her own. And so that's just a common theme, isn't it?
It is a common theme, and we see that a lot in families where we're trying to like protect each other so that we're not worrying somebody in the family. But yeah, it just puts a lot of pressure on other people, and like you say, it could be a shared load.
Yeah,
and it kind of re-stigmatizes, it's a whole other program to do on dementia, I feel, just exploring that and what happens behind the scenes with it as well is interesting. So thank you, Hannah. Thank you for doing that work and for bringing it to light here as well, because it impacts on so many people. So many families are affected by this. Absolutely. All right, my Danny, you just mentioned the song that you're going to sing.
Yeah.
So
this song is actually a work in progress. Just look for my own water. There it is.
Okay. I think it just flows in so beautifully with today's show, particularly.
Yeah.
And all the things that we've been sharing.
Yeah.
Tell me a little bit about how this came to be.
When the lockdown first happened, I just come back from a little bubble being in Sri Lanka and India for 2 months. Working on retreats and then doing some training, and I knew about the virus. I was looking online, but I had no idea what I was actually coming home to. And I came home like within a week. You're locked in your houses, so oh my god, my dad's working in critical care, and my little brother's working in critical care, and they're like 60-year-old and above won't be resuscitated, because I was hearing about what was going on in the hospital. My dad's 60 years old, and I was like, oh my gosh, my dad's gonna die. And I was convinced that I was gonna lose my dad. Gosh, even thinking about it is horrible. And then I went through a whole healing journey, and my right boob doubled in size.
Wow.
It happened in Sri Lanka, and I thought, oh, maybe I'm on different soil, there's something in my lymph system, blah blah blah. And it continued the next month, and it continued the month after, but it was getting much more when it was my time of the month. And then I rang the doctors, and we did a video appointment, told her what had gone on, and she was like, why are you only telling me this now? I need you to come into the surgery right now. Wrap your face up, do this, do that. Got in there, and she examined my breast, and she said, you need to go for an emergency referral. Do not miss this appointment. Never mention any cancer or anything. And then I got home, and all of my messages and emails are coming through, like 5 messages, your emergency cancer referral. And I've already had this fear last year and the year before of cancer in my ovaries and in my throat, because I had a big lump in my throat and problem with my ovaries not bleeding for 2 months and all this stuff. And I was like, oh my gosh, both of those times I actually had cancer and they didn't see it, and now it's spread and I'm going to die. Oh, I can't die with my songs inside me. I just wanted to get my songs recorded, and I was ready for dying. But I was getting ready for dying. I know that sounds really extreme, but it's been such a theme for me this last few years. And astrologically, apparently, I have valid reason to think these thoughts because I don't understand it, Pluto in something or other, which is all about death for these next 2 years. So I think that's where the fear of death is.
So you've really had an experience of, you know, beginning to face into that, and one of the things is that you want to get your songs out.
And also we should be ready to die any single day. And I've seen a death, quite a horrific one, and I've seen a couple that are not so horrific, and I think it's just making me be ready. And
the ultimate fear.
The ultimate fear, yeah.
Into the ultimate fear, yeah. All right, darling, thank you. So you're going to play us out for the show for today, Hannah. Just give you a massive, massive thank you. Thank you for being so honest and open and so generous in everything that you've shared. If anybody needs to get in touch about anything that we've touched on in the show, please do just message us. Just before we sort of play out as well, I just want to say thank you to Douglas again for being a guest today. I just want to mention also that, you know, things are evolving here at NiaTv all of the time. We put a shout out for funded commissions a few weeks ago, and those shows are now starting to be aired on the channel. So this Friday we have a new game show, which is called What's in the Box, and it sounds really hilarious. So tune into that. I'm just struggling to see what time that starts on the... It's from 6 p.m. this Friday if you tune into NiaTv. Also, you know, check out what other programs we've got running at the moment as well. I'm going to be back next week with Christina Batty and another guest. And actually, we've got a lady called Angela Burns, who's an amazing artist. She's doing all kinds of really creative paintings on her face of very famous artists. It's amazing work. So tune in again next week to join us there. And Hannah, darling, is going to now play for us. What's the title of the song, Hannah? Have you given it a name yet?
Yeah, it's called I Am.
I Am, and it just captures everything that we've been talking about today. I hand over to you, darling. Thank you. Off you go.
How's that sound, Shabs? I know we had a difficulty before. Is that okay? I am everything for me that I need to be. I'll find everything in me that I could ever seek. I am all that ever has been, and I am all that ever will be. I am the light that I seek. It is deep inside of me. I am my mother, I am my father, I am my sister, I am my brother, and I am my forefathers. I am my future, I am my daughter, I am my son. I am love. I am love. I am one of my community. I bring unity to all the parts of me that I rejected, and now I am free. I am my family. I am Shiva and I am Shakti. I am Kundalini rising. I am the cosmic serpent inside. I am Maria. I am Sophia. I am Jesus and I am Krishna. I am Allah. I am Buddha. I am a piece of this great mystery. I am Ganesha, a bridge builder. I am the music in sacred mantra. I am the winds. I am the seas, all of the elements live inside of me. I am the fire, I am the earth, I am the prayer, the mind of the bird. I am peace and I surrender. I am harmony and tranquility. I am the melody, I am the symphony, sacred geometry. I am a synergy of sacred energies. I am a dreamer, I am a seeker, a true believer that there's more to life than 3D reality. I am more than this body, so much more than this mind. I'm not my ethnicity, I am a product of the divine. I am one with all relations, and I am the creator of my reality. But I'll learn from duality. If I am one with God, I am one with Satan. I am one with Trump and I am one with Hillary Clinton. I am the apple on the tree. I am Adam, I am Eve. I am the sin that is forgiven. We can always be forgiven. I am, I am, I am. I am that I am. I am. I am. I am. I am. I am. I am that I am. You.